Kia ora, good evening. So in this episode, I thought I would talk to you about how to arm and protect yourself, and to get your children to arm and protect themselves from the things that go bump in the night. But I'm also going to tell you the difference between the ones that you don't need to worry about and the ones that you do. So, the 6 most powerful words in the universe, as a high priestess, as an alchemist, as somebody who was raised around watching people cast spells and make magic potions and do all their ancestral voodoo in the islands where I'm from, I can tell you that the 6 most powerful words in the universe that stops everything, psychic attacks, negative thoughts, voices in your head, red eyes under the bed, things that open your door and peek in, anything that is seen and unseen but felt energetically, whether through anxiety, fear, illness, paranoia, rapid heart rate, hair standing on end. Like, there's a whole spectrum of ways that your body will react long before your brain even figures out what's going on. Because your conscious mind is already alerting your physical body that you are about to witness something supernatural and you need to get ready and pay attention. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a ghost or a dead person or a bad person or a possession or something evil. On a primal level, we are born with instinct long before we're born with intuition. We are born with instincts. We are not born with intuition. And it is only through watching our society and our troop of chimps, or whatever we were, like, we've grown up knowing to protect and defend ourselves against predators that we couldn't see. And it was because of that's when intuition started kicking in. That's when we started developing intuition. But we are born with primal, very, very primal instincts that keep us alive, which is why some of us have a curious fascination with death, morbid curiosity in that, because knowing what is a threat to us keeps us alive longer. And when you witness people make mistakes, you learn from them so that you don't make the same mistakes. Especially if you like breaking karmic cycles of domestic violence, or, men who cheat. Because as a child, you grow up looking for what you're raised around. So if you're in your mother's tummy and her man's cheating or beating on her, or they're fighting over money, and that's exactly what you're going to look for in a partner when you grow up. Someone who spends your money, someone you're constantly fighting with, someone who might be physically abusive, male or female. Because domestic violence isn't just, where the women are the victims. You seek what you know. You seek what is comfortable to you, and a baby is never more comfortable as when it's in the mother's womb. It's the mother's job to protect the baby from the second it gets in there till beyond she takes her last breath. So it's up to us as the mothers, because we cook the food. We're responsible for the nutrition that goes into our children's bodies. We feed their soul. And we're supposed to protect them from the things that go bump in the night. Dads are supposed to make sure that nothing gets in the house to make anything go bump in the night. But for the things that can't be seen but felt, that's mum. Dad is the ground eyes. Dad is buffalo. Dad is the one that protects the perimeter. Dad is the one that makes sure that the castle or the safe house, the den, the cave, the whatever, no predators can get in or out without going through Dad. But for the stuff that can't be seen but felt, that's mum, because mums have that intuitive connection with their children that is we're the one, it's closer because we're the nurturers. We're the ones that the kids are supposed to go to when they're sick and afraid. Dad's the one they go to when they need protection and when they need to be strong and brave. But when they can't be strong and brave, it's mum, so, and I'm not saying men can't. If you're a single dad, if you're a dad, and you want to get involved, by all means do get involved. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that when you're talking about the supernatural, the yin and the yang, the masculine and feminine roles that are played is very, 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 very important. You can't have an uneven number of male and females in your coven, in your cult, in your nothing. Everything has to be perfectly balanced. And when you're talking about the supernatural, which is, how you'll hear the footsteps coming up the stairs and the bedroom door will open and you swear you see someone's head peeking through the door and then shutting the door. That's not a ghost. That is absolute real happening in real time. And you might just be happening to be sleeping in the bedroom where the kid's dad comes home every day, and before he goes off to bed he checks in on his son, and you just happen to be caught in that bandwidth where you are part of the scene being played out when stone tape theory plays everything back. Because every now and then, when the frequency is just right, when those nebulas are throbbing and pumping out the right amount of rhythmic frequency, it sends waves of energy out across the universe that eventually hit like satellites in the conscious mind and the atoms in the atmosphere, and it's like hitting play on a video recorder, except with a haunting where it's just that and there's no interaction or acknowledgement. That's what a haunting is. You're watching the video being played. But with a time slip, that is where you will acknowledge each other, where they know that you are there. They may even speak to you or call out to you or react in a certain way, but you know that they know that you're there. That's what's misunderstood to be ghosts, but it's not. It's a time slip. It's where your time and their time, you are making that movie together. If you've had any kind of experience where you swear to God that person was there and they turned to look at you or they acknowledged you or whatever and then they were gone, they just vanished, and you've never ever forgotten that experience ever, because I guarantee you when they happen, you remember everything about the experience. That's how you know they're real. Because when you're dealing with a time slip and a time bend, the frequency is such as that it leaves an imprint on you because it's left an imprint in the atmosphere. And you get to relive it. If it's like a place where, like a national trust, where certain members of staff will see certain things playing out every now and then over and over again for as long as I've been living there. Oh, I always see her in the garden or whatever. That's a time bend. She's not seeing her ghost, she's seeing her really there in that real time while she was in that garden for real. But if they're not bothering, if it's not bothering you, if you're not feeling threatened by the energy that you're feeling, you have nothing to worry about. You're being privileged to be a part of a supernatural phenomenon. You're creating history. You're literally standing in history and history in the making. There could be people out there who told stories about seeing you in the 1700s or the 11th century or the Victorian era, where they swear to God they saw someone dressed in these weird clothes and blah blah blah, looking straight at them, and as soon as they spoke to them and said, "Who are you?" the person vanished, sort of thing. You could very well be someone else's ghost story in the past, where people thought they were crazy because they said, the women. I swear it was a woman, but she was wearing these clothes where, her skirt was so short, but this is someone from like the 15th century. And that's the cool thing about the supernatural. It is 100% physics and all faith-based. Depending on what you believe happens to you when you die is what you become a part of in the supernatural. That's why we have mythology and stuff, for people trying to make sense of the stuff they were seeing at a time when they didn't understand gods and churches and Bibles and all of that. So they told stories about it, and the mythologies came about. And even in mythology, the one way that you beat that which thinks it has the control over you or has the power over you is you have no power over me, because it instantly takes back the control and it instantly shows that person or that energy that they can no longer control how you feel. And that's how you tell the difference between the stuff that you don't need to worry about and the stuff you do need to worry about, especially in regards to your children and, your family and your mental well-being and all of that. If you're experiencing any sort of quote unquote paranormal activity in the home, you have to remember that if something is genuinely needing your help, they are going to ask for it. You are going to know. They are not going to waste any opportunity when they can, break the crack and step through the atoms of time in order to ask for your help. They're going to be very clear and very precise about it. They will not mince words. They will say, "I need your help. Go to my grave," or, they will then drop you hints and clues so that you can figure it all out for them. But it will happen once. It will be very quick and you will never forget it. When it is a time slip and it is somebody where your path has crossed their path at the exact same time and you're both acknowledging each other for it, you're lucky. Like, do you have any idea what you're being a part of? You're literally seeing through the looking glass. If you think of time and history as fractals or millions and trillions and billions of microscopes, you got to step into one of those microscopes and see who's looking on the other side. Like, that's supernatural. It's a scientific, theological phenomenon. It's a miracle that you're getting to be a part of that. And even for the hauntings, where it's just, like a repetitious stone tape theory thing, just, playing certain things back over and over, because it will be repetitive. It might not be constant, but, it'll be the same thing. The grey lady, the man in brown going down the stairs, that sort of thing. That's still a supernatural phenomenon. You're still witnessing history being made. You just watch it on repeat. Something keeps rewinding the tape and playing it back. Um, but it can all be fixed. But why would you want to get rid of all of that once you know how cool it is that you're actually like a part of a scientific miracle? You're part of a miracle of physics. Why would you want to shut all of that down? Why would you be afraid of that? And that's what you need to teach your kids as well, because the ones they need to be afraid of are the ones that make them think that they have the control. Negative energy, whether it's coming from something that has happened in that on that land in the past before the kid got there, or is happening around them now. Negative energy feeds on fear, and the only way that they can get fear from you is by controlling what you're afraid of, and by teaching your kids to stand up and be strong and say, you have no power over me. It instantly takes back that control, because it's all to do with the battle of the mind. Because negative energy, demonic voices, anything that is negative, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, psychological pain, financial trauma, anything that is bringing you down negatively, anything that is toxic, anything that is not helping you become a happy, healthy, rounded, logical thinking person who has a faith, who has a future, who is happy and well-rounded and, content and at peace with how their life is going. If there's anything bringing you down, it's more than likely either because it's karmic debt. So then you have to look at, why am I always losing money? Well, have you ever at any point in your life taken from someone, whether it's that they didn't charge you properly for something in a store but you didn't tell them, or some money fell out of someone's pocket, and you picked it up and you didn't give it back, or did you steal, or did you have to be brutally honest with yourself. And this is really important, because you're teaching your children at a very young age to take personal responsibility for all and every actions growing up, so that they can learn how to balance right from wrong out. Because a lot of negative energy, a lot of people who have demonic ways of thinking, because let's be clear, demons aren't real. They are the darkest manifestations of a twisted mind being projected into the environment and in the society around them. And if they are jealous of someone, if they hate someone, if they're envious of someone, if they've targeted someone in particular, their whole family can feel the effects of that, especially the children and the animals. And it can manifest to a child in all kinds of ways. But the way you tell the difference is when a child or an animal is just scared of something that they weren't expecting, once they realize that the situation isn't one to fear, they get used to seeing what they see, and it doesn't bother them. They're not afraid of it, because especially the younger the child, the younger the animal, the more honest their reaction will be, because they're purer. They're more pure. Whereas like an older dog might have had experiences with strangers trying to break in or something in the past, and so it knows to be vigilant of everyone that comes to the door that's not Nana or Auntie or Dad or whatever. But a younger puppy, their instincts in that for anything that isn't like the pack, they're going to be more alert to. So pay attention to the way all animals act and react, as well as children. If the children aren't bothered by, and the animals aren't bothered by what they're hearing, what they're seeing, then you have nothing to worry about. Because the other thing is as well, it might not even be that they're seeing a time bend or a time slip. It could very well be that they're picking up on something that's happened in another state with grandma, and so they're acting a bit jittery, or pacing the room, or if they hear noises in the corner. I mean, that could be anything from um, how close your neighbours are, because sound can travel down chimneys from one neighbour to another. Like, that does happen. Sound can travel through, tunnels and that, and chimneys, they have like a tunnel system, and sound travels really well through tunnel systems, because our pyramids have like a tunnel system for, for sound, for the travel of sound. So your dogs and your cats and your birds and that, they will be picking up on things. They could even be, sorry, I got cut off there. My son messaged me and it cut the thing off. Yeah, they could be responding to earthquakes in another state, because they're super hypersensitive. And you have to remember that cats, dogs, our birds, like our pets that we have in our home, they're our primary core totem animals, and they are responsible for the protection and well-being of your ancestral bloodline and your home and your spiritual development and that. So they are going to know if they react in a negative, aggressive way around someone, or at a certain part of the house, and I mean aggressive, like where they might even lunge at you or attack you, or, scream and hiss at you, because sorry, my son keeps messaging and it's cutting the video off. He's offering to make me pancakes on Mother's Day. Bless him. Um, so yeah, what was I saying? Because our pets, if they're in our home and we consider them family and we look after them and we have that bond with them, they're our core primary animal totems. So they've been chosen by the ancestors and that to look after your soul and your spiritual development, and, protecting your home and the family, and they have a big responsibility. So nobody is going to know better anything that threatens the well-being of the spiritual evolution of your family's development, of your ancestral development, than your totem animals. So if they're reacting negatively, if they're sick all the time, if they refuse to go into a place, refuse to come out of a place, if they're whimpering, if they're scared, then that's when you pay attention. But if they're just, being playful, or just they'll look up and their eyes will follow, so you've got absolutely nothing to worry about, because you've got to remember that they're medians. They live, cats and dogs especially, spend 65% of their time, I believe, between realms, they can step in and out of the space-time frequency. They see a hell of a lot more than they will ever let on, which is why when they do react to something, you need to pay attention to your animals and your children. If they're sick all the time, like vomiting, if they can't sleep, if they get like unexplained fevers, your body will always react first before your mind even figures out what on earth is going on. So pay attention, because your body reacts instinctually, whereas then your mind will react like subconsciously, then consciously. Your conscious mind has already seen something going on, and so the animal or your body or the child, being of the highest frequency, because your body is like the physical conduit to the antenna as well, of everything that you're around in the physical, including the people you're around. So you could be bringing stuff home that your kids are picking up on. So it doesn't have to be a demonic possession. It doesn't have to be someone who was evil in the house and died and they've come back, and, because 99.99999% of most of the paranormal and supernatural occurrences are easily explained just by explaining the science. And once you understand what it is, it has no fear over you, has no control over you anymore. So then when you do think it's a demonic possession, or you do think there's something evil in the house or whatever, like, use logic and doubt and reason and go backwards. Who was I around within the last 48 hours? Who was my child around within the last 48 hours? What's the history of this house? How close are my neighbours? Could that be raccoons up in the attic? Could the voices we're hearing be coming through the 5G towers? Where's the closest 5G towers? How much time have I spent on terrestrial TV? Could it be a Schumann resonance thing? Like, go backwards and think logically. Go to the stuff that you know exists and is real scientifically, because that's where the logic and the common sense, and it's just, unfortunately, when it comes to the supernatural sciences and the paranormal sciences, it's all wrong. But some of it's ish. But that's why I'm here. So, and then when nothing else can be explained, then look at, is there anybody that has a problem with my kid, or, is my kid having trouble at school? Are my kids being bullied? Is this a projection of them being bullied at school? There's always going to be a logical source for where the energy is coming from. But when you go backwards and start picking it all apart and deciphering it all, you'll always come to a logical conclusion. And if it turns out that everything that you're picking up on in that house, or that your child and animal is reacting to in that house, is because somebody outside the home has an issue with somebody inside the home, then that's easily fixed as well. But if it's not, if it turns out that it is a very, very, very rare occasion that something's happened in that house, and you're a victim of some sort of negative attack, very rare, I might add, very rare. Even people who don't like you, who are thinking about, God, sometimes I wish when she walks past I could just like punch her in the face, and then you end up with like a bruise on your cheek or a scratch on your back or something like that. Somebody's hate and anger and rage towards you could be that powerful that it can manifest in the ways that they want to hurt you. I did an experiment on someone who was having brain surgery. She gave me her permission to jump in to her conscious mind while she was having brain surgery. And when she got out, I had a bruise on my leg that turned out to be where they put like a line or a drip or something. They put like a stent or something in her leg. They put something in her leg, and we had the same bruise on the same side. And then there was also where I got called to, where a whole pile of Indigenous girls were going missing in Canada to do, I don't know if they were all connected to like the Highway of Tears, but because there's so many cases in Canada where Indigenous girls and families and that are going missing, like, as an Indigenous person, this is something I take very seriously. So when I get called to stuff I involving, missing Indigenous people, I'm right in there, because I know that it's going to involve serial killers and occult stuff. So I want to do my bit. So I was doing this thing, and the girl, and it's on Instagram, and she was talking about how the man uses his wood saw. He's like a lumberjack or something, and he has like a mill for the, where he, like, they saw the mill, the wood and all of that, and she was saying that he chopped her up on that. And she was explaining how he was carrying her. And it's all written down, and it's on my Instagram, because you'll see the picture that I did of the saw and the mill. And what did she say? Tell Tommy, but I don't know who Tommy was, and I think one of her names was Diane or Diana, or I can't remember. Deirdre, I can't remember. It's all on my Instagram anyway. And when I came out of that jump, I had the 5 finger marks exactly where she said he had, like, picked her up over his head by the thigh and by, like, the shoulder or something. He had her over his head by her thigh or something, and where I had the 5 finger marks, and I've even got the photo of the 5 finger marks on my thigh on Instagram. So this stuff can manifest in real life. That's the power of the supernatural. This is what I keep trying to explain to people. So if somebody doesn't like you, and they're, all it takes is for a couple of a sibling and a cousin to be having a gossip about you and saying negative things about you, and it can manifest in your real life. So you have to be careful who you're around, because a lot of paranormal stuff gets blamed on you making bad choices about the people you're around, or not standing up for yourself at school, or not standing up for yourself to whoever's bullying you, or but I'm here to teach the difference. But it's so important that you teach children, now that you know the difference between what is to be feared and what is to just teach them, actually, this is really cool. Here's a new one, but it's actually a really cool science. It's a brand new science, but it's really cool. It's not actually a dead person. It's a this. It's a, and my stories and my books and my movies and my products is all about this stuff. It teaches kids all about it, and adults all about it, from 1 to 100. So you have no power over me. She even says it in Once Were Warriors, I think. Beth, I think she even says to Jake the Muss, you have no power over me, because they really are the most powerful words in the universe. The only thing is, you can only say it when you mean it. If you're casting words, especially if it's for protection, whatever you cast has to come from your soul. You have to mean every word that you speak, because the universe will always take you on your first word. So there can be none of this, oh, I didn't mean it. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Oh, I was just joking. Well, I didn't know it was going to come true. Well, I didn't know it was going to hurt anyone. Oh, I didn't know it was real. You can't go back on your word. It's too late. Once you put it out there, and then the universe decides whether you get karma or dharma for all and every action, all and every choice and action and reaction. So teach your children young to stand up to whatever it is that's scaring them in their room or their bedroom. That's their bedroom. And if they're genuinely under threat, and it's not just that they get a little bit scared because, things happen unexpectedly. If they're genuinely afraid, and they're getting sick all the time, and the dogs are reacting, and the birds are reacting, and the cats are reacting, and you know, as a mum, but arm yourself with the knowledge first, because what you know and what is the truth might not be might not be the same thing. But that's why I'm here. So obviously dads teach it to their kids as well. I've written a storybook. I've written a book. It'll get published, and I'll get an illustrator to do the drawings for it and all that. But You Have No Power Over Me is one of my stories. We read them out on the radio for Sunday morning radio and that, and published them as books and turned them into little animated movies from a streaming service and all of that. So you have no power over me. Teaches a kid to stand up to the boogeyman, to the thing that goes bump in the night. But now I can teach you the difference between something that needs to be ignored, something that needs to be appreciated, something that needs to be dealt with, and something that needs to be gotten rid of. So, yeah. So now you know, you have no power over me. It works for adults too, I promise. Especially if you have that idea in your head that maybe someone's, red flags. Oh, they're only joking when they're constantly putting me down for my weight or my this or my that. They're only joking. They mean well. No, that's negative energy. That's toxic. People who care about you don't put you down. So, you can bring a lot of stuff home. You can manifest a lot just by tolerating other people's bullshit. And your children will pick up on it better than you can, and so will your animals. So if they see something coming to the door and they're barking and they're angry and that, it might not be anything that you need to worry about other than the fact that you're refusing to deal with that person at work who is constantly having a go at you for every single little thing you do. And then, oh, I'm only joking. Oh, they know I mean well. Oh, we just have that kind of relationship. No, you have no power over me. Leave work at the door. I'm leaving you at the door, because it could be that, when you're coming home, you're picking up on everything they're saying about you behind your back. And because they're talking about you and you live in that house, their negative energy, because you've brought it all home as baggage and depression and, anxiety or sadness or melancholy or overeating or a bottle of wine or whatever, you've brought that home. So they have that power over you, and it's come straight to your door like a mind bullet, like a energetic bullet, and your dog's gone, whoa, hang on a minute, there's somebody threatening my mum. Sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So you need to be wise with this sort of stuff. Because then if you start freaking out, oh my God, it's a ghost, oh my God, and the hair stands up on your end, you've triggered a fight or flight response and you've completely overreacted. All because of something you felt before you saw it. But understanding how energy works and understanding how paranormal activity works then helps you deal with it, because you will instantly recognize now the next time it happens exactly what it is. And if your kids are picking up on it, and it's because you've brought it home, or it is in your home because of the fighting and the worried about the bills, and you've taken your stress straight to the energy bubble of your children, and your youngest and your animals are picking up on it, that's on you, mate. You got to fix that. But that's why I'm here, and I have the products, and I'll be able to make the candles for you to burn, and even the fragrances, because I want to do air freshener versions to put in your car, so you're not having to drive around with your sprays. You just spray the card and put it on your thing, so your vehicle's protected as well. I'll have everything. But it starts with you recognizing that nothing and no one has power over you. You make the decision. You make the choice how you're going to act, and you make the decision how you're going to react to every and all situation, and then you teach that to your child. So now you have to take your power back and reclaim your homes and your offices and your safe space, and get rid of all that energy, so that you're not putting all of that burden on your children, because there's too many people out there on Tinterweb and YouTube and that are teaching your kids that that the paranormal are ghosts and dead people and demonic and demons and evil and blah blah blah. But demons aren't real. They're a manifestation of the deepest recesses of the twisted mind. They're not like little beasties that live in the core of the earth, hell. They're the manifestations of a sick mind, of an unhealthy mind. And it's either that you've manifested it, or someone around you has, or someone has brought it to you. But either way, it has control over you. And nothing and no one is allowed to have control over your spiritual evolution other than you, your ancestors, and your God, whoever you believe created you. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, or the daughter, the Father, the Holy Spirit. The ancestors and the creators. They're the only ones that have a say in who you are as a person. They're the only ones who you need to worry about, because you're here to pay off your ancestors' karmic debt, not accrue more karmic debt. And you can accrue karmic debt by refusing to handle situations that you keep putting off. Procrastination, and that excuse of procrastination means, and it's a genetic, but no. It's people who are too afraid to do the things they don't want to do, so they put it off to the last minute. It's usually having to have that conversation they don't want to have, or finally sticking up for themselves, or finally getting out of that job that's been dragging them down, or finally getting out of that relationship that's, dead and buried, and you're going through the motions or whatever. Tie off the loose ends, because it stops it coming to your door. And then your kids aren't going to be having nearly half as many boogeymen under the bed. You have no power over me, and I'll, keep teaching you more as I go. But this is it for now. Hold your head up high. Know you are loved. Ka kite anō.